In the unforgiving heat of the Arizona Territory, 1878, a lone Apache warrior named Two Hawks rides toward a frontier town where no native is welcome. The townspeople freeze at his approach, hands hovering near holsters. But Two Hawks isn't focused on them. His eyes lock on two small girls stumbling down the dusty street, their wrists raw from rope burns, faces hollow with hunger. Behind them strut four cowboys, laughing as they push the children forward like cattle. The girls' eyes, one blue, one brown, meet Two Hawks' gaze with a silent plea that cuts through years of bitter tribal hatred. What could drive an Apache warrior to risk everything for two white children stolen by his enemies? Will the town allow such defiance to go unpunished, or will this act of mercy become his death sentence? Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The scars on Two Hawks' back tell a story of betrayal. 10 years as a scout for the U.S. Army had earned him nothing but suspicion from both worlds. The white soldiers never trusted a savage, and his own people called him a traitor. Now he rides alone, belonging nowhere. His weathered face remains impassive as Redemption Creek appears on the horizon. A town known for its particular hatred of Apaches, yet it's the only place within 2 days' ride where he can trade for supplies. His ammunition runs low, and the coming winter demands preparation. Two Hawks adjusts the worn cavalry knife at his belt, a reminder of Lieutenant Colonel Harrison, the one white man who treated him with respect before a Comanche arrow took him. The knife had been a gift, and now it serves as both tool and memory. He slows his pinto mare as they approach the town's edge. Smoke rises from chimneys, and the distant piano from the saloon carries on the wind. Two Hawks pulls his hat lower, knowing the ritual about to unfold. The stares, the whispers, hands moving to weapons, mothers pulling children inside. Just supplies, he mutters to himself in Apache. Then gone. Sheriff Tom Hollister sits outside the jailhouse, whittling a piece of pine. At 55, his once black mustache has gone gray, and the badge on his chest seems to weigh heavier each year. He notices the Apache rider and sighs, setting aside his carving. "Trouble comes," Deputy Wilkes says, stepping onto the porch. "Only if someone makes it," Hollister replies, standing slowly. "That's Two Hawks. He's traded here before. Keeps to himself. Still an Apache," Wilkes spits. "McCullough boys are in town. They won't take kindly," Hollister frowns. The McCullough brothers, Jeb and Wade, work for James Blackwood, the territory's most powerful cattle baron. They're the kind of men who create problems the sheriff then has to clean up, then keep them away from the Indian. "I'm too old for a shooting today." At the general store, widow Martha Wilson watches Two Hawks approach through her window. Unlike most in town, she sees him differently. Her late husband had been a Quaker, and his beliefs about all men being equal had rubbed off on her during their 30 years together. She sets down her inventory ledger and moves to the door, watching as Two Hawks dismounts. The beadwork on his saddle catches the sunlight, intricate patterns speaking of a craftsman's hand. Martha remembers how he'd fixed her broken water pump last spring when no one else would help an old woman living alone. "Best customer I got," she whispers to herself. Pays in full, never haggles. Across the street, the saloon doors swing open. 4 men emerge, laughing too loudly, whiskey bottles in hand despite the early hour. The McCullough brothers lead the group, their spurs jangling with each exaggerated step. Two Hawks hears them, but doesn't look their way. He secures his horse and reaches into his saddlebag, removing a carefully wrapped bundle of beaver pelts for trading. Behind the cowboys come 2 tiny figures. Pia, just 4 years old, holds the hand of her younger sister Mia, barely 3. Their dresses, once white, now gray with dirt and torn at the hems. Their faces are streaked with dust and dried tears. Rope marks circle their wrists, and their lips are cracked from dehydration. "Move it. Little merchandise," Wade McCullough calls, giving Pia a shove that sends her stumbling forward. Two Hawks freezes, the pelts forgotten in his hands. His dark eyes take in the children, then the laughing men behind them. In his mind, unbidden, comes the memory of his own daughter's voice. She would have been 6 winters now had she lived. Hidden in Two Hawk's saddlebag, wrapped in a square of soft deerskin, lies a small wooden flute, a child's toy he carved 3 winters ago. The gift his daughter never received. His fingers tighten on the pelts as he watches the small girls stumble forward, pushed by men who see them as less than human. Something shifts in Two Hawk's eyes. The resigned acceptance of a man who expects nothing from the world hardens into something different, something dangerous. Sheriff Hollister sees it too, from his place outside the jailhouse. He straightens, hand moving instinctively toward his gun. "Damn it all," he mutters, knowing that the peaceful morning has just ended. The tin star pinned to Sheriff Hollister's vest had lost its shine years ago, much like the man who wore it. He'd taken the job after the war, thinking Arizona Territory would be quieter than his native Kentucky. 15 years later, he mostly enforced the peace that powerful men like James Blackwood defined. "Sheriff, you gonna let that Indian just wander around town?" Deputy Wilkes asks, fingering his revolver. "He's got as much right as anyone to trade," Hollister says, though they both know it isn't true. "Not really? Not in Redemption Creek. Blackwood won't like it. Especially with his boys in town." Hollister spits into the dust. "Blackwood doesn't run this office." But they both know that's not entirely true either. Inside her store, Martha Wilson watches Two Hawks through the window. The shelves behind her hold everything from beans to bullets, calico to coffin nails. 15 years a widow, she's built this place through stubborn determination and careful navigation of frontier politics. A leather-bound Bible sits open on her counter. Not for reading, Martha knows the verses by heart, but for the pressed wildflower between its pages. A gift from Two Hawks last spring, offered silently after he'd fixed her pump. A small purple bloom that doesn't grow near town. He'd ridden miles with it carefully preserved. Such a gesture from a man the town calls savage. Martha, close up. "There's an Apache in town." Mrs. Greeley calls through the doorway, clutching her shawl. "I've got customers coming," Martha replies calmly, though the street is emptying as people spot Two Hawks. "That Indian's been here before," Mrs. Greeley whispers dramatically. "Thomas says he worked for the army before going back to killing settlers." Martha sighs. "Thomas needs to mind his business." Two Hawks trades fair and leaves peacefully. Well, the McCullers are at the saloon, and they've got those poor little girls they found wandering after some Indian attack. "Orphans, the poor dears." Martha's eyes narrow. "Found them, did they?" Before Mrs. Greeley can answer, commotion erupts outside. The McCullough brothers emerge from the saloon, shoving the 2 small girls ahead of them. Even from inside, Martha can see the children are malnourished and injured. Merchandise walks on its own. Jeb McCullough shouts, laughing as little Mia stumbles and falls to her knees. Wade yanks her up by one thin arm. "Worth good money at Hamilton's mining camp." "Those men get lonely." Martha's hands tighten on her counter. "Mrs. Greeley, I think you should go home now." Outside, Two Hawks stands motionless beside his horse. His eyes follow the children, taking in every detail. The rope burns, the bruises visible beneath torn dresses, the vacant fear in their eyes. The girls don't cry. They've learned that crying makes things worse. Sheriff Hollister crosses the street, positioning himself carefully between Two Hawks and the McCullers. "Boys," he calls to the brothers, "why don't you take your business elsewhere today?" Jeb McCullough, tall and with a scar running down his cheek, turns with exaggerated slowness. "Well now, Sheriff, we're just conducting legitimate business. Found these little ones wandering after some Apache devils massacred their family." He emphasizes the word Apache, staring directly at Two Hawks. "That right?" Hollister asks, unconvinced. "God's honest truth," Wade adds, placing his hand on his heart. "We're taking them somewhere safe." "They need a doctor," Hollister says, nodding toward Mia's infected wrist, where rope has cut into flesh. "They'll get one. When we're good and ready." Jeb's hand rests casually on his gun belt. "The challenge is clear." Hollister hesitates. His town sits on a knife's edge of peace, maintained through careful compromises and looking away when necessary. The star on his chest feels heavier than usual. Two Hawks watches this exchange without expression. But inside, something stirs. Memories of his own village after the cavalry came through. Children with that same hollow look, including his daughter before the fever took her. He reaches slowly into his saddlebag, fingers brushing past the wooden flute to something deeper inside. A small leather pouch containing a metal medallion. His Army Scout badge, proof of his service. Once it meant something, protection, legitimacy in the white man's world. Now, as he watches these children suffering, while a lawman debates the politics of intervention, he wonders if it ever meant anything at all. At the general store doorway, Martha Wilson reaches beneath her counter and wraps her fingers around the smooth handle of a shotgun her husband left her. Unlike the sheriff's tarnished star, Martha's principles remain untarnished. Some lines cannot be crossed. Even in Redemption Creek, Pia clutches her little sister's hand so tightly that her knuckles turn white. At 4 years old, she understands more than anyone thinks. She knows these men are bad. She knows her parents aren't coming back. And she knows that she must protect Mia, who at 3 can barely understand what's happening. What Pia doesn't know is how much longer they can survive. Her free hand occasionally touches the small cloth pouch hanging from a string around her neck. Inside, a lock of her mother's hair and a small wooden cross. Her mother had placed it there the night the men came, whispering, "Keep this safe, and the angels will watch over you." Pia hasn't seen any angels yet. She studies the tall Indian man standing by his horse. Unlike the Cowboys, he doesn't smile with teeth showing or laugh too loudly. His eyes remind her of her father's, quiet, watching, thinking. Two Hawks observes the girls with equal attention. The older one, protective, clutching the younger child's hand. The little one, wobbling on her feet, eyes glazed with exhaustion and hunger. Both filthy, both injured, both terrified. He recognizes the signs from too many raids, too many aftermath scenes. These children didn't wander away after an attack. They were taken. Their captors stand behind them, hands on gun belts, proud of their prize. "Those girls need water," Two Hawks says, his voice startling everyone. He rarely speaks in town, and never uninvited. Wade McCullough's hand moves to his pistol. Indians talking now. "Getting mighty comfortable. Just stating facts," Two Hawks replies evenly. "Children need water, food, medicine, and what business is it of yours?" Jeb steps forward, tobacco juice staining his beard. "You claiming kin with these white girls? Or just shopping for some yourself?" A muscle tightens in Two Hawks' jaw, the only visible reaction to the insult. Sheriff Hollister steps between them. "Let's all calm down. Two Hawks, best you finish your trading and move on." Two Hawks doesn't move. Those girls were not orphaned by Apaches. The accusation hangs in the dusty air. Several townspeople have gathered at a safe distance to watch, sensing the building confrontation. "You calling me a liar, boy?" Jeb's voice drops dangerously. "I'm saying Apache raiders don't leave survivors, especially children." Two Hawks' eyes never leave the girls. "An Apache don't tie captives with hemp rope. We use rawhide." Sheriff Hollister glances at the rope marks on the children's wrists, his brow furrowing. Wade laughs nervously. "Listen to him. Expert on kidnapping techniques." "I know what happened to these children," Two Hawks continues steadily. "Same thing that happens on disputed land. Same thing that happened at Three Feathers Creek and Cottonwood Ranch." Hollister's head snaps up. Those were settler families who'd refused to sell to Blackwood. Official reports blamed Apache raids, but rumors suggested otherwise. "That's enough," the sheriff warns. Seeing how the McCullough brothers' faces darken with rage, Mia suddenly sways on her feet, her tiny body giving out after days of inadequate food and water. She collapses in a small heap, dust puffing around her torn dress. Pia cries out, dropping to her knees beside her sister. "Mia, wake up, Mia!" Two Hawks moves forward instinctively, but Wade's gun appears in his hand. "Stay back, savage." Martha Wilson emerges from her store, a tin cup of water in hand. "Let me help the child. These girls are our property," Jeb snaps. "Found 'em, saved 'em, and we're taking them where they'll be cared for proper." "Property?" Martha's voice could freeze a desert. "These are children, not cattle. Same difference out here, Wade smirks. Blackwood paid good money for us to bring back workers for Hamilton's camp. He realizes his mistake immediately. Sheriff Hollister's eyes narrow. Thought you said you found them after a raid. The brothers exchange glances. We did, Jeb recovers quickly. But Blackwood's paying the expenses to transport them somewhere safe. Somewhere safe, Two Hawks repeats, his tone making the words an accusation. Little Pia looks up from where she kneels beside her sister, her eyes meeting Two Hawks across the dusty street. Something passes between them, recognition perhaps of shared suffering, of being caught between worlds, not of their choosing. She tugs at the cloth pouch around her neck, then with tiny trembling fingers removes it. To everyone's surprise, she extends her arm, offering it toward Two Hawks. The gesture silences everyone. This small white child, choosing to trust an Apache warrior over the white men who claim to be her saviors. Two Hawks crouches slowly, maintaining a careful distance from the children, but close enough to see what Pia is offering. Through the open neck of the pouch he glimpses the lock of blonde hair, the wooden cross. Her mama, Pia whispers, her first word since arriving in town. Bad men hurt her. In the silence that follows, Two Hawks makes his decision. Two Hawks rises slowly, every movement deliberate. The street has gone silent. No piano from the saloon, no shopkeeper's banter, not even the wind seems to stir. All eyes follow as he walks to his horse and unties something from his saddle horn, a weathered leather medicine wheel, small enough to fit in his palm. The four quadrants, red, yellow, black and white, faded from years in the sun. The beadwork around its edge missing pieces. A warrior's protection charm, carried through countless battles. What's he doing? Deputy Wilkes whispers. Hand hovering over his pistol, Sheriff Hollister shakes his head slightly. Wait! Two Hawks returns to where the girls huddle in the dirt. Mia still lies unconscious, her breathing shallow. Pia hasn't moved from her sister's side, a small hand stroking Mia's tangled hair. He kneels, dust-coating his buckskin leggings, and places the medicine wheel beside Mia. For protection, he says simply. His deep voice gentle. Pia touches the edge of the wheel with one finger, then looks up at Two Hawks with absolute trust. Jeb McCullough spits a stream of tobacco juice that lands inches from Two Hawks' knee. Enough of this heathen nonsense. Girls are coming with us. Two Hawks doesn't look up. The small one needs medicine, water, food, and she'll get it when we're good and ready, Wade snaps, stepping forward. Now back away from our property, Injun. They're not property. Two Hawks' voice remains calm, but carries to every corner of the street. They're children. Same difference out here, Jeb laughs. Just like your people sell their women, we're taking these girls where they'll be useful. Two Hawks stands slowly, turning to face the brothers. Something dangerous flickers in his eyes. A warrior emerging from behind the mask of the quiet scout. These children go with me. The declaration lands like a thunderclap in the silent street. Several onlookers gasp. Even Sheriff Hollister seems stunned by the audacity. The hell they will. Jeb's hand drops to his revolver. Two Hawks doesn't flinch. You took them after killing their family. For Blackwood's land grab. You accusing us of murder, boy? Wade's voice drops dangerously low. I'm stating facts, Two Hawks replies evenly. I tracked for the army. I can read sign. I know what happens to families who won't sell to Blackwood. Martha Wilson steps forward, her shotgun now visible in her hands. Sheriff, these men are taking children to a mining camp. You know what happens to little girls in those places. Hollister looks torn, a man caught between duty and conscience. I can't just, my horse for the children, Two Hawks interrupts, surprising everyone. Fair trade, Jeb barks a laugh. Your scrawny pony for prime merchandise. Those girls will fetch $50 each at Hamilton's. $200, Martha cuts in, her voice steady. I'll pay cash for those children right now. The McCullough brothers exchange glances. Greed warring with pride. 300, Wade counters. Done. Martha doesn't hesitate. Hollister steps forward. Now wait just a minute. We don't buy and sell people in this town. Course we do, Jeb sneers. Indians been doing it for centuries. We're just continuing the tradition. Two Hawks' hand moves to his knife, not drawing it, just resting there. Your laws say these children can't be sold. And what would you know about white man's law, savage? Wade challenges. Enough. Two Hawks locks eyes with Sheriff Hollister. These girls were taken after their parents were killed. That's kidnapping, murder. Jeb's patience snaps. He draws his pistol in one fluid motion, aiming at Two Hawks' chest. I've had about enough of this red devil calling me a murderer. Jeb, don't. Hollister warns, his own hand moving to his gun. The tension stretches like an overwound clock spring. Townspeople begin backing away, sensing violence about to erupt. Through it all, little Pia hasn't moved from her sister's side. But now she speaks, her voice small, yet somehow cutting through the standoff. He killed Mama. Her finger points directly at Wade McCullough. With a big knife. Papa tried to fight. They laughed. Every eye turns to the small child, then back to the suddenly pale-faced McCullough brothers. She's just a kid, Wade stammers. Don't know what she's saying. Mama said run, Pia continues, tears streaming down her dirty face. We hide it in the root cellar. They found us next day. Two Hawks looks at Sheriff Hollister. Will you uphold your law now, or Blackwood's? Before Hollister can answer, Jeb's finger tightens on the trigger. Two Hawks moves with the speed that once made him the Army's best scout, dropping to one knee as the shot cracks through the air. Women scream. Men duck for cover, but Two Hawks isn't running or fighting. He's shielding the children with his body, covering them as a parent would. The bullet kicks up dust 2 feet to his right. Martha Wilson's shotgun roars in response, splintering the hitching post beside the McCullough brothers. Next one won't miss, she promises. Her voice steel. The aftermath of gunfire brings a moment of frozen silence, then chaos. Sheriff Hollister draws his revolver. Deputies surge forward, and townspeople scatter for cover. Through it all, Two Hawks remains motionless, his body a shield over the small girls. Enough! Hollister roars, his gun trained on Jeb McCullough. Next man who fires gets a bullet. Wade raises his hands slowly, eyes darting between Martha's shotgun and the sheriff's pistol. She fired on us. That's against the law! So is kidnapping and murder, Martha replies, her weapon unwavering. Hollister's weathered face shows the calculation behind his eyes. Justice versus consequences. Blackwood's reach extends beyond Redemption Creek, all the way to the territorial governor. Two Hawks, he says finally. What exactly are you proposing here? Two Hawks rises slowly, keeping the children behind him. His voice carries across the tense street. These children are now under my protection. By Apache law, when warriors find children orphaned in conflict, they become children of the tribe. A murmur runs through the gathering crowd. Two Hawks continues, his words clearly chosen with care. Your own Christian teachings say the same. Care for orphans and widows. Martha Wilson nods firmly. Amen to that. This is absurd, Wade sputters. You can't let a savage take white children. I was 10 years scout for the Army, Two Hawks counters. Lieutenant Colonel Harrison made me a citizen under territorial law. This new information causes Sheriff Hollister to reassess the man before him. Harrison? From Fort Bowie. Two Hawks nods once. I served under him during the war, Hollister says quietly. In this moment of connection, Two Hawks reaches slowly into his shirt and withdraws a tarnished metal object hanging from a leather cord around his neck. A simple cross, bent slightly at one arm, with a bullet hole through its center. Harrison gave me this, Two Hawks explains. Said it stopped a bullet at Gettysburg. Said it was powerful medicine. His voice drops. He called it a symbol that all men could be brothers. He holds the cross where everyone can see it, this Apache warrior displaying a Christian symbol without irony or shame. A bridge between worlds. These children need protection. A home. Two Hawks looks directly at Sheriff Hollister. I swear on Harrison's cross that I will keep them safe until their family can be found. Pia, sensing the importance of the moment, steps forward and slips her small hand into Two Hawks. The gesture, so natural and trusting, speaks volumes. This is insanity, Jeb hisses. Blackwood will hear about this. I'm counting on it, Hollister replies, making his decision. Two Hawks, I'm placing these children in your temporary custody as a former Army scout and a friend of Harrison. The McCullough brothers explode in protest, but Hollister silences them with a raised hand. "Martha, you'll witness this arrangement. The children stay in town under Two Hawks' protection until we can contact the territorial authorities about their family." "They've got no family left," Wade snaps. "We made sure—" He stops abruptly, realizing his error. The admission hangs in the air like gun smoke. Hollister's eyes harden. "McCullough brothers, you're both under arrest for kidnapping, and we'll be investigating murder charges. You've signed your own death warrant, Hollister," Jeb warns, his voice low. "Blackwood won't stand for this." "Maybe not," the sheriff acknowledges. "But for once, I will." Deputy Wilkes steps forward uncertainly. "Sheriff, are you sure about this?" "Giving white children to an Indian?" Two Hawks doesn't react to the insult, but Pia does. The 4-year-old looks up at Deputy Wilkes with surprising fierceness. "He's good," she says simply. "Not like the bad men." Little Mia stirs at last, her eyes fluttering open. She whimpers in confusion and fear until she sees Pia holding Two Hawks' hand. Something in her sister's stance reassures her. Two Hawks kneels beside Mia, speaking softly in Apache, then in English. "You are safe now, little one. No one will hurt you again." He removes a small buckskin pouch from his belt and carefully places it in Mia's tiny hand. Inside are dried berries and pine nuts, simple trail food. But to a starving child, a treasure. Mia's fingers close around the offering, and she brings it to her lips with desperate hunger. Martha steps forward. "They need more than berries. They need baths, proper food, clean clothes. My store has a room in back." She tells Two Hawks, "You can stay there with the girls until this is sorted out." The McCullough brothers exchange dark glances as deputies move to disarm them. "This ain't over," Wade promises. "Not by a long shot." Two Hawks doesn't bother to answer. Instead, he carefully lifts Mia in one arm while keeping hold of Pia's hand with the other. The unlikely trio walks toward Martha's store, leaving stunned silence in their wake. Martha Wilson's storeroom smells of coffee beans, leather, and dried herbs. Two Hawks sits awkwardly on a small wooden chair, watching as Martha tends to the girls in a copper washtub. His large frame seems out of place among the shelves of fabric and household goods. "Never thought I'd have an Apache warrior in my back room," Martha says, gently washing dirt from Mia's thin arms. "Nor two little ones needing such care." Two Hawks remains silent, uncertain of his new role. Fighting he understands, survival he knows intimately. But caring for small white children? This is unfamiliar territory. "They're so thin," Martha murmurs, counting the visible ribs on Mia's torso. "Lord knows how long those men had them." Pia stands nearby, wrapped in a blanket while waiting her turn in the tub. Her eyes never leave Two Hawks, as though fearing he might disappear if she looks away. "You hungry?" he asks her, his English careful and measured. She nods solemnly. Two Hawks reaches into his pouch and offers her more dried berries. Martha clicks her tongue. "They need proper food. Stew, bread, milk if we can get it." She glances toward the store. "I should be out front. Customers will be curious, especially after that scene." The sound of raised voices filters through the doorway. "Sheriff Hollister arguing with someone," Martha sighs. "Never simple, is it?" She lifts Mia from the tub and wraps her in a towel. "Can you manage them for a moment?" Two Hawks nods, though uncertainty flashes in his eyes. As Martha heads to the front, Two Hawks finds himself alone with two vulnerable children, a responsibility he never anticipated when riding into town that morning. Mia whimpers softly, clutching her towel with tiny fingers. Two Hawks hesitates, then opens his arms. To his surprise, she toddles over and climbs into his lap, exhaustion overcoming any fear of strangers. Pia watches this interaction carefully before stepping closer herself. "You helped us," she says. Her voice small but clear. Two Hawks nods. "Bad men won't hurt you now. They hurt Mama and Papa." Her lower lip trembles. "We hided. They found us next day." Two Hawks feels a familiar ache, the same pain he carried after finding his own family slaughtered 3 winters ago. He reaches carefully into an inner pocket of his buckskin shirt and withdraws a small book bound in faded red cloth. Its edges are worn smooth from handling, some pages water-stained, a primer of English words and phrases given to him when he first joined Harrison as a scout. For years, he'd studied it by firelight, determined to understand the white man's world better than they understood his. He opens the book to a page with simple illustrations. "Would you like to hear a story?" Both girls look at the book with interest, perhaps remembering stories from before their world collapsed. Two Hawks begins reading haltingly about a rabbit and a fox. His accent is thick, his phrasing awkward, but the girls listen with rapt attention. For a moment they are just children again, not survivors of atrocity. In the front room, Martha faces Sheriff Hollister and 3 town council members. "This is highly irregular." "Martha," Councilman Peterson says, tugging at his waistcoat, "an Apache taking custody of white children? The territorial authorities will have questions. Then let them ask," Martha replies firmly. Those girls trust him. After what they've been through, that's no small thing. Blackwood's lawyer is already drafting telegrams to the governor, Sheriff Hollister admits. Claims the McCullers were rightfully transporting orphans to proper care. Martha snorts. A mining camp brothel is proper care. "We all know what Blackwood really wants," Hollister says quietly. "Those girls are witnesses to murder on land he's trying to claim." Councilman Peterson shifts uncomfortably. "Now that's quite an accusation." "It's the truth," Martha snaps. "And you know it, Harold Peterson. Your own brother-in-law was forced to sell last spring when Blackwood's men poisoned his well." The storeroom door opens, revealing 2 Hawks with Mia asleep in one arm and Pia holding his other hand. The red primer is clutched to Pia's chest. The sight silences everyone, this feared savage cradling a sleeping white child with such gentle care. "They need food," 2 Hawks says simply. "And safe place to sleep," Martha nods. "I've made up beds in the spare room upstairs." "Mrs. Wilson," Councilman Peterson sputters, "you cannot possibly intend for this man to stay in your home with those children." Martha draws herself up to her full height, which isn't much, but her dignity fills the room. "Harold Peterson, I've lived in this town for 15 years since Walter passed, and I've never once given cause for gossip. I'm a God-fearing woman who knows right from wrong. These children need protection, and 2 Hawks has sworn to provide it." She points to the door. "Now, unless you're buying something, I suggest you leave my store." Sheriff Hollister hides a smile. "I'll post a deputy outside tonight," he offers, "just in case Blackwood gets any ideas." 2 Hawks nods his thanks, an understanding passing between the men. Both know this temporary peace is just the calm before a storm. Dawn breaks over Redemption Creek, with ribbons of pink and gold stretching across the horizon. 2 Hawks stands at the small window in Martha's spare room, watching the street below come to life. He slept little, aware of every creak in the floorboards, every shadow that passes the window behind him. The girls sleep curled together on a narrow bed, Pia's arm protectively around her younger sister. Glean now, their blonde hair gleams in the early light. 2 Hawks studies them, still wondering at the strange turn his solitary life has taken. A soft knock at the door brings Martha with a tray of biscuits and coffee. "They're still sleeping," 2 Hawks whispers. Martha nods, setting the tray on a small table. "Children heal with rest, body and spirit." She glances at him. "You should rest too." "Not safe yet," Martha sighs. Sheriff's deputy is still outside. Hollister locked up the McCullough brothers, but everyone knows it's Blackwood who's the real threat. 2 Hawks accepts the cup of coffee she offers. "Why do you help us?" The directness of the question doesn't surprise Martha. "Because it's right," she says simply, "and because I know what it's like to lose family." She sits in the room's only chair, smoothing her apron. "Walter and I had a son, Daniel, bright boy, always laughing. Fever took him when he was 6. Then Walter passed 5 years later." Her eyes grow distant. "Sometimes I wonder if he died of heartbreak as much as pneumonia." 2 Hawks nods, understanding all too well. "My wife Sparrow and daughter Morning Light, 3 winters ago. Cavalry raid on our hunting camp. They thought we were renegades from the reservation. The shared grief hangs between them, a bridge of understanding. A soft rustle from the bed announces Pia's awakening. She sits up, momentarily confused by the unfamiliar surroundings, until she spots two hawks. Relief washes over her small face. "Good morning, little one," Martha says gently. "Are you hungry?" Pia nods, then points to the still sleeping Mia. "She's sick," she whispers. "Her arm hurts bad." Martha moves to examine the younger child, carefully unwrapping the bandage she'd placed on Mia's infected wrist the night before. The skin around the rope burn is red and hot. "Infection's worse," she murmurs. "We need Dr. Simmons." "Doctor won't come," Two Hawks says. "Not for Indian. He'll come for me," Martha replies firmly. "And for children." While Martha goes to send for the doctor, Two Hawks sits awkwardly beside Pia, who nibbles at a biscuit. "Where will we go?" she asks suddenly. The question catches Two Hawks off guard. He hasn't thought beyond keeping the girls safe through the night. "Safe place," he answers finally. "Away from bad men." Pia considers this, then reaches under her pillow and pulls out a small piece of slate and a stub of chalk, items Martha had given her the night before. On it she's drawn crude but recognizable figures, a tall man with long hair holding hands with two small figures. "Is this us?" Two Hawks asks, touched by the simple drawing. Pia nods. "My new family." She points to a fourth figure partially erased. "Mama watches from heaven." Two Hawks stares at the drawing, emotions he's kept buried for 3 winters threatening to surface. This child has lost everything, yet still finds hope in the unlikely protection of a stranger. A commotion from downstairs interrupts the moment. Raised voices, heavy footsteps. Two Hawks moves instantly to the window. 4 men on horseback have arrived. Not Blackwood's cowboys, but soldiers. "Army Blue, stay here," he tells Pia, moving swiftly to the door. Downstairs, Martha stands resolutely before a cavalry lieutenant and 3 troopers. This is a private residence. "Lieutenant Carson," she's saying as Two Hawks reaches the bottom stair. "You've no authority to search it." "Ma'am, we have reports of an Apache renegade harboring kidnapped white children," the lieutenant replies. "That's Army jurisdiction." Two Hawks steps into view, causing the soldiers to reach for their weapons. "Not renegade," he says calmly. "Army Scout, 10 years. Under Lieutenant Colonel Harrison." Lieutenant Carson looks skeptical. "Harrison's been dead 2 years." Two Hawks speaks truth, Sheriff Hollister says, entering through the store's front door. "I've seen his discharge papers. He's legal under territorial law." The lieutenant looks unconvinced. "And the children?" "Orphans," Martha interjects. "Their parents were killed by outlaws working for James Blackwood." "The girls are witnesses. That's not what Mr. Blackwood claims," Carson replies. "He's filed formal charges of kidnapping against this Indian. Says the children were being legally transported to proper care when he stole them." Hollister steps forward. "And you believe that, Lieutenant? 2 little girls being transported to a mining camp by known criminals?" Carson has the grace to look uncomfortable. "I have my orders, Sheriff. The children are to be placed in territorial custody pending investigation." "And Two Hawks?" Martha demands. The lieutenant's expression hardens. "The Indian comes with us to Fort Bowie to answer charges." From the top of the stairs comes a small, frightened voice. "No!" Pia stands there, clutching her slate drawing. "He saved us. Bad men hurt Mama and Papa." Two Hawks and Martha exchange glances, both knowing this confrontation has just become infinitely more complicated. Lieutenant Carson stares up at Pia, his military resolve wavering at the sight of the small child clutching her drawing. "Little girl," he says, softening his tone, "no one's going to hurt you." "We're here to help." "That's what the bad men said too," Pia replies, her voice trembling but defiant. "Before they hurt Mama." Two Hawks moves toward the stairs, positioning himself between the soldiers and Pia. "Children stay here. I go with you." "That's not how this works," Carson insists, though with less conviction. Sheriff Hollister steps forward. "Lieutenant, I propose a compromise. The children remain in Martha's care under my jurisdiction until Dr. Simmons examines them. The younger one has a severe infection that needs immediate attention." "And Two Hawks?" Martha asks. "He can accompany me to the jailhouse," Hollister continues. not as a prisoner, but as a material witness. That satisfies Army concerns while keeping him in local custody. Carson considers this. My orders come from Fort Bowie, Hollister interrupts, where I served under Colonel Williams for 3 years. I'm sure he'd appreciate us handling this with discretion rather than traumatizing 2 orphaned children further. The mention of his commanding officer gives Carson pause. He glances at the frightened child on the stairs, then back to Two Hawks. 24 hours, he concedes finally. Then I'll need to take the Indian back to the fort. Two Hawks nods acceptance, then turns to Pia. I must go with Sheriff. You stay with Martha. Be safe. Panic flashes across Pia's face. You promised. You promised to protect us. And he will, Martha assures her, climbing the stairs to take her hand. The Sheriff is our friend. Two Hawks will return. Two Hawks reaches slowly into his shirt and withdraws a leather cord. Hanging from it is a smooth stone, the size of a walnut, polished to a deep green shine. Intricate carvings cover its surface, symbols that predate even Apache traditions. Medicine stone, he explains, slipping the cord over his head. Very old, very powerful. Belonged to my grandfather's grandfather. He places it gently around Pia's neck. Keep this safe until I return. It will protect you and sister. Pia clutches the stone, her small fingers tracing the ancient carvings. Promise you'll come back? I promise. The words carry the weight of an oath. As Two Hawks turns to leave, with Hollister and the lieutenant, Martha calls after them. I'm sending for Dr. Simmons immediately, and Reverend Parker should be informed about the girls. As town minister, he has standing with the territorial authorities. Hollister nods approval. Good thinking. The more respectable witnesses, the better. Outside, the morning has fully broken, the street busy with townsfolk going about their business. They stop to stare as Two Hawks walks between Hollister and the army lieutenant. Quite a stir you've caused, Hollister mutters as they approach the jailhouse. Half the town thinks you're a hero, half thinks you're a devil kidnapping white children. Truth matters more than what people think, Two Hawks replies. Truth? Lieutenant Carson scoffs. Truth is, an Apache taking white children will never stand in any court in this territory. Then why do you serve? Two Hawks asks unexpectedly, if not for truth and justice. The question catches Carson off guard. Before he can answer, they arrive at the jailhouse, where Deputy Wilkes waits nervously on the porch. Sheriff, we got trouble, he announces. McCullough brothers are gone. What? Hollister's face darkens. How? Blackwood's lawyer came with papers. Said they had right to post bail for witnesses against the Indian. Wilkes shifts uncomfortably. Judge Pearson signed off on it this morning. Hollister curses under his breath. Where's Blackwood now? Headed back to his ranch with the McCulloughs. Said to tell you this matter would be settled proper through territorial courts. Lieutenant Carson looks vindicated. Seems the law is working as intended, Sheriff. This isn't law, Hollister snaps. This is Blackwood buying the outcome he wants. Inside the jailhouse, Two Hawks sits calmly at Hollister's desk while the men argue jurisdiction and legal technicalities. His thoughts remain with the girls, particularly Mia, whose infection could turn deadly without proper treatment. We need to find the girls' homestead, he says suddenly. Interrupting the debate, Hollister turns to him. What proof of what happened? Of who they are? Two Hawks points to a map on the wall. Where were settler families on Blackwood's claimed land? The sheriff considers this, then moves to the map. 3 families refuse to sell, far as I know. Peterson's here by the creek. Johnson's at the North Ridge. And the Wilsons, no relation to Martha, had a place near Eagle Canyon. How long to ride there? 4 or 5 hours to the closest. Why? Two Hawks fixes him with a steady gaze. Proof that McCullough's killed parents. Proof of who children are. Legal proof. Hollister rubs his jaw thoughtfully. That's not a bad idea, actually. Physical evidence would trump Blackwood's legal maneuvering. I'll ride with patrol, Lieutenant Carson offers unexpectedly. Both men look at him with surprise. He shrugs. I follow orders, but I'm not blind. Something's not right about Blackwood's story. And Two Hawks? Hollister asks. Carson hesitates. He stays here. Under your custody, Two Hawks shakes his head. I tracked for Army 10 years. I can find what soldiers miss. He has a point, Hollister admits. Two Hawks was the best tracker on the frontier. The lieutenant struggles visibly between duty and practicality. If, and I mean if, I were to allow this, he'd be under military escort at all times. Agreed, Two Hawks says immediately. As they finalize arrangements for the expedition, a commotion outside draws their attention. Through the window, they see Dr. Simmons hurrying toward Martha's store, medical bag in hand. Two Hawks watches intently. Little one needs medicine. Doc Simmons is the best in the territory, Hollister assures him. She's in good hands. Two Hawks nods, though his expression remains concerned. The medicine stone he gave Pia carries powerful protection in Apache belief. But he knows the white man's medicine might be what Mia needs now. Their fates are increasingly intertwined. Apache and white, past and future. Bound together by two small children, caught in the middle. Dust rises behind the small expedition as they ride north from Redemption Creek. Two Hawks leads on a borrowed cavalry horse. Flanked by Lieutenant Carson and Sheriff Hollister, 4 troopers follow at a respectful distance, rifles across their saddles. The Wilson homestead is closest, Hollister explains, consulting a folded piece of paper. Family of 4 according to tax records. George and Mary Wilson with 2 daughters. Two Hawks nods. How far? 3 hours if we push it. They ride in silence for a time, each man lost in thought. The landscape gradually changes from desert scrub to rolling grassland, dotted with juniper and pinyon pine. In the distance, dark clouds gather over the mountains. Storm coming, Two Hawks observes. Lieutenant Carson studies the horizon. We should reach the homestead before it hits. If we find evidence, Sheriff Hollister says, what then? Blackwood has the territorial judge in his pocket. Army justice is different, Carson replies. If there's proof of murder on disputed land, Fort Bowie has jurisdiction under the Homestead Protection Act. Two Hawks listens to this exchange with interest. White man's laws are complex, layered like canyon walls. Sometimes they protect, sometimes they crush. You have wife? Children? He asks Carson unexpectedly. The lieutenant looks startled by the personal question. Yes, wife and son in Tucson. Two Hawks nods. You understand then? Understand what? Why I help the girls. Why it matters. Carson doesn't respond immediately. When he does, his voice is quieter. I understand wanting to protect children, but an Apache taking white girls. It's not that simple. Nothing is simple, Two Hawks agrees. But right and wrong should be. Their conversation ends as they crest a ridge, and the Wilson homestead comes into view in the valley below. Or what remains of it. The main cabin stands partially burned, its roof collapsed on one side. The small barn is intact, but the corral fence is broken. No smoke rises from the chimney. No livestock in the fields? Stay alert, Hollister warns, drawing his revolver. McCullers might have men watching. They approach cautiously, spreading out as they near the buildings. Two Hawks dismounts first, studying the ground around the cabin. 2 weeks, he says, crouching to examine tracks in the hard earth. Maybe 3. Multiple horses. Men in boots. How many? Carson asks. 4, maybe 5. Two Hawks points to different tracks. Heavy man here. Man with spurs here. One with limp. Jeb McCullough limps from a Comanche arrow years back, Hollister confirms. Two Hawks moves to the cabin door, which hangs from one hinge. Inside, the scene tells its own story. Overturned furniture. Broken dishes, a child's doll trampled into the dirt floor. They fought back, he says, pointing to bloodstains on a wall. A spent shotgun shell in the corner. Hollister examines a family Bible on a small table, miraculously undamaged. George and Mary Wilson, he reads. Daughters Sophia and Emma Wilson. Sophia, Two Hawks repeats. Pia. Carson looks confused. The older girl calls herself Pia, Hollister explains. Must be short for Sophia. Two Hawks continues his methodical examination of the cabin, moving with the precision that once made him the Army's best tracker. In a corner, partially hidden by a fallen beam, he spots a leather-bound book. He retrieves it carefully. What is it? Carson asks. Two Hawks opens the book to reveal handwritten pages filled with neat script. Words, many words. Hollister takes it gently. It's a journal. Mary Wilson's diary. He flips through the pages. Last entry is from 3 weeks ago. He reads aloud. George refused Blackwood's offer again today. $20 an acre is an insult, he says. With the new irrigation system, our land is worth 5 times that. Blackwood's men made threats before leaving. George has been sleeping with the shotgun beside the bed. Lord protect us and our girls. The 3 men exchange grim looks. Evidence, Two Hawks says simply. Motive, Hollister agrees. And with the girl's testimony, a gunshot cracks the silence, the bullet splintering wood beside Carson's head. The men dive for cover as more shots follow. Ambush! Carson shouts, drawing his sidearm. Two Hawks rolls behind an overturned table, scanning the windows. 3 men. Ridge to north, the troopers outside return fire. Their rifles barking in the afternoon air. They were waiting for us, Hollister growls. Blackwood knew we'd come looking. Carson agrees. Two Hawks crawls toward the back of the cabin, toward a small window partially obscured by fallen timbers. Cover me, he whispers. Before either man can respond, Two Hawks slips through the opening and disappears. Outside, the firefight intensifies. Carson signals his men to flank the attackers, while Hollister provides covering fire from the cabin. Where's the Indian? Carson shouts over the gunfire. Doing what he does best, Hollister replies. Hunting. Two Hawks moves through the underbrush with ghost-like silence, circling behind the attacker's position. 3 men lie prone on the ridge, rifles trained on the cabin below. He recognizes 2 as Blackwood's ranch hands from town. Drawing his knife, the old cavalry blade from Harrison, Two Hawks advances. The men are so focused on the cabin, they don't sense his approach until it's too late. The first man feels cold steel against his throat and freezes. Move and die, Two Hawks whispers. Within minutes, the shooting stops. Two Hawks marches his captives down the ridge at knife point, their hands bound with their own belts. Blackwood sent you to destroy evidence, Hollister accuses as the men are secured. Just following orders, one mutters. Said to stop anyone from snooping around. Carson looks at Two Hawks with newfound respect. That was impressive, Two Hawks shrugs. Old ways still work. As they prepare to return to town with their prisoners and evidence, Two Hawks pauses to retrieve something from the ruins of the cabin. A child's wooden rocking horse, small enough to carry on horseback. For the girls, he explains. Something from home. The simplicity of the gesture silences both Hollister and Carson. In the distance, thunder rolls across the valley as the storm approaches. Rain lashes the windows of Martha Wilson's store as night falls over Redemption Creek. The expedition has returned, soaked and mud-splattered, but triumphant with their evidence and prisoners. In the back room, Two Hawks kneels beside Mia's bed, his usually stoic face lined with concern. Fever worse, he says, touching her forehead gently. Dr. Simmons nods grimly. The infection's spreading. I've cleaned the wounds and given her laudanum for the pain, but... He hesitates, glancing at Pia, who sits vigilantly on the other side of the bed. She needs stronger medicine than I have here. What medicine? Two Hawks asks. There's a new treatment. Carbolic acid solution. Prevents infection from spreading. The doctor sighs. I've ordered it from Denver, but it won't arrive for weeks. Martha, who has been listening from the doorway, steps forward. What about Fort Bowie? Would their medical officer have this treatment? Possibly, Dr. Simmons admits. The Army gets new medical supplies before civilians. Two Hawks looks up at Lieutenant Carson, who stands uncomfortably in the corner of the small room. Their eyes meet in silent communication. I could send a rider, Carson offers. Request the medicine. Too slow, Two Hawks says, rising to his full height. I will go. Out of the question, Sheriff Hollister interjects from the hallway. Blackwood's men are watching every trail, and you're still technically in custody. I know paths no white man can follow, Two Hawks insists. Can reach fort by dawn. It's 40 miles through Apache Pass. Carson protests. My homeland, Two Hawks reminds him simply. A strange sound interrupts their debate, a harsh metallic clanging from outside. Everyone freezes listening. The rhythm is deliberate, unsettling. Sheriff Hollister moves to the window, peering through rain-streaked glass. "It's Blackwood," he says grimly, "with about 20 men." In the street below, James Blackwood sits astride a massive black stallion, the collar of his expensive coat turned up against the rain. Behind him, his men form an intimidating line across the muddy thoroughfare. One rhythmically strikes a metal triangle used to call ranch hands to meals, the sound cutting through the storm's rumble. "He's making a show of force," Hollister mutters. "Wants the whole town to know he's here." "What does he want?" Martha asks, though they all know the answer. "The girls. And 2 hawks." Carson moves to stand beside Hollister at the window. "And he's brought enough men to take them." 2 hawks joins them, his expression unreadable as he studies Blackwood's forces. "How many men do you have, Sheriff?" 2 deputies. Maybe 5 townsmen I could deputize who wouldn't run at the first shot. "My 4 troopers," Carson adds. "Not enough." 2 hawks nod slowly, his mind calculating options. "Back door!" "Leads to the alley," Martha confirms. Then to the livery stable. A decision forms in 2 hawks' eyes. He turns to Dr. Simmons. "Write what medicine, exactly, and how to use." The doctor quickly scribbles instructions on a piece of paper while 2 hawks returns to Mia's bedside. The small girl's breathing is shallow, her face flushed with fever. "You go away?" Pia asks fearfully, clutching the medicine stone still hanging around her neck. "To get medicine for sister." 2 hawks explains gently. "We'll return. Promise?" "Promise." He touches the medicine stone. "Keep this safe." From beneath his buckskin shirt, 2 hawks removes a tarnished metal object that gleams dully in the lamplight. A cavalry bugle, small enough to fit in one hand, dented on one side. Lieutenant Carson's eyes widen in recognition. "7th Cavalry," he breathes. "From the Washita River campaign." 2 hawks nods. "Last man blew this. Brave man. Warned others." He places the bugle in Pia's small hands. "If danger comes, blow hard." "I will hear." "I will come." Pia takes the bugle reverently. "Even if you're far away?" "Even then." 2 hawks rises and addresses the others. "Sheriff, Lieutenant, keep Blackwood talking." "Give me time." "You'll need a horse," Hollister says. "No." 2 hawks shakes his head. "Horses leave tracks. I go on foot. Faster through mountains. 40 miles. Carson protests again. "In this storm!" "My people ran these lands before horses came," 2 hawks replies with quiet confidence. "I will reach fort by dawn." Martha hands him a small oilskin packet. "Jerky and hardtack." "It's not much. More than I usually have." 2 hawks accepts the food with a nod of thanks. From below comes the sound of heavy boots on the store's front porch, followed by a commanding knock. "James Blackwood to see the sheriff," a voice calls. "We know you're in there, Hollister." 2 hawks moves toward the back door, pausing only to look once more at the girls. Something in his gaze suggests he's memorizing their faces, unsure if he'll see them again. "Remember," he tells Pia, "the bugle." Then he slips into the rainy darkness. Becoming one with the storm, Hollister squares his shoulders, checking his revolver before heading downstairs. "Let's go see what Blackwood has to say for himself, and buy 2 hawks as much time as we can," Carson adds, surprising himself with his own commitment to their unlikely alliance. Behind them, Pia clutches the cavalry bugle to her chest, her small face set with determination beyond her years. James Blackwood removes his gloves 1 finger at a time as he surveys Martha Wilson's store. Water drips from his expensive coat onto the wooden floor. Despite the late hour and the storm, he's impeccably dressed, his silver watch chain glinting in the lamplight. "Sheriff Hollister," he says with practiced cordiality. "Lieutenant Carson, this is an unexpected pleasure. I wasn't aware the Army had business in Redemption Creek." "Mr. Blackwood," Hollister acknowledges stiffly. "What brings you to town on such a miserable night?" Blackwood smiles without warmth. "Concern for the welfare of 2 orphaned children, of course. I understand they've been placed in rather unusual custody. The Wilson girls are receiving proper care," Hollister replies. "Wilson?" Blackwood's eyebrow rises. "You've identified them, then?" "We have." Lieutenant Carson steps forward, his military bearing evident, along with evidence regarding the deaths of their parents. Blackwood's smile doesn't falter, but something hardens in his eyes. "A tragedy, certainly. All the more reason the territorial authorities should place them with a suitable guardian. He glances around. Where is the Apache who abducted them? Two Hawks didn't abduct anyone, Martha interjects from the stairs. He saved those girls from being sold to a mining camp brothel. My dear Mrs. Wilson, Blackwood says smoothly, you've been misled. The McCullough brothers were transporting orphans to the territorial orphanage in Tucson. That's not what Wade McCullough said when he slipped up in front of 20 witnesses. Hollister counters. Blackwood waves this away. A misunderstanding. Regardless, I have here. He produces an official-looking document from his coat. A writ from Judge Pearson appointing me temporary guardian of the orphans until their proper placement can be determined. Convenient, Hollister mutters, considering it was your men who made them orphans. Blackwood's pleasant facade cracks slightly. That's a serious accusation, Sheriff. One I hope you can substantiate. Oh, we can, Hollister assures him. Mary Wilson's journal details your repeated attempts to force them off their land. And we have 3 of your men in custody after they ambushed us at the Wilson homestead. For the first time, Blackwood looks genuinely surprised. Furthermore, Carson adds, given the evidence of murder on disputed homestead land, this matter falls under Army jurisdiction per the Homestead Protection Act of 1866. I see. Blackwood recovers quickly. And where is this journal now? Safe, Hollister says, along with other evidence. Upstairs, Pia sits beside her sister's bed, the cavalry bugle clutched in her small hands. Through the floorboards, she can hear the men's voices, especially Blackwood's. Though she's never seen him, she recognizes the voice from that terrible day at the farm. Kill them all. Leave no witnesses. Her heart pounds as footsteps move through the store below. Martha had told her to stay quiet, no matter what she heard. Mia whimpers in her feverish sleep, drawing Pia's attention back to her sister. She places a cool cloth on Mia's forehead the way Martha showed her. 2 Hawks will bring medicine, she whispers, as much to reassure herself as her unconscious sister. He promised. Meanwhile, 2 Hawks moves like a shadow through the storm-lashed hills outside town. The rain works both for and against him, masking his trail, but making the footing treacherous. Still, he navigates with the certainty of one born to this land, following game trails and dry washes that no settler would notice. His mind remains focused on the journey, but his thoughts occasionally drift to the small girls he's left behind. Strange how quickly they've come to matter. After 3 years of emptiness following his family's death, these 2 children have awakened something he thought long dead. The trail narrows as he enters a rocky pass. Here he pauses, sensing rather than seeing a presence ahead. His hand moves to his knife. "Brother," a voice calls softly in Apache. "You travel dangerous paths on a dangerous night." 2 Hawks relaxes slightly, recognizing the voice. "Walks far. I did not expect to find you so close to the white man's town." A figure materializes from the shadows, an Apache warrior in his 30s, his face painted for war despite the rain. "The better question is why you travel toward the soldiers' fort," Walks Far replies. "Has my sister's husband finally tired of living between 2 worlds?" "I need medicine," 2 Hawks explains. "For a sick child." Walks Far studies him curiously. "Your child?" "A child under my protection." Understanding dawns in Walks Far's eyes. "The white children from the farm. We saw what happened there." 2 Hawks looks up sharply. "You were nearby." "Close enough to watch but not interfere." "The white rancher's men. Very brutal." Walks Far shakes his head. "We would have taken the children ourselves, but they disappeared before we could reach them." 2 Hawks absorbs this information. "The younger one is sick, dying without proper medicine." Walks Far considers this, then reaches into a pouch at his waist. He withdraws a worn leather book with faded gold lettering on its cover. "The pages are water-stained but intact. We found this at the farm. Could not read the white man's words, but kept it safe." He offers the book to 2 Hawks. "Perhaps it belongs to your white children." 2 Hawks takes it carefully, opening to the first page. Even in the dim light, he can make out the inscription. "To my daughters, Sophia and Emma, may God's word light your path. Love, Father." A family Bible, small enough to hold in one hand. More than just a book, a connection to parents the girls would never see again. "Thank you, brother," Two Hawks says with genuine gratitude. Walks Far nods. The pass ahead is clear, but there are soldiers camped at the south ridge. Follow the deer trail east, and you will avoid them. You have scouts watching the fort. Always. Walksfar's expression grows serious. The white rancher has offered bounty for any Apache near his lands. Even scouts like you. Two Hawks tucks the Bible securely inside his shirt. "I must reach the fort by dawn. A child's life depends on it. Then we will help you," Walksfar decides. "My brothers and I will create a distraction to the north. Draw the soldiers' attention while you approach from the south." Two Hawks clasps his arm in gratitude. "Why help me? I was scout for the White Army. You are still Apache," Walksfar replies simply. "And children are sacred, even white children." The two men part ways in the rain, bound by a connection deeper than the conflicts that divide their worlds. Dawn breaks over Fort Bowie with pale fingers of light reaching across the parade ground. Sentries change shifts, yawning as they report no disturbances during the night. None have noticed the lone figure who slipped through their perimeter under cover of darkness. Two Hawks stands in the shadows near the fort's infirmary, watching orderlies prepare for morning sick call. His clothes are still damp from the night's journey, his muscles aching from the punishing pace he maintained through mountain passes and arroyos. The diversion walks. Our promise had come at midnight. Apache war cries and scattered rifle fire from the northern ridge, drawing soldiers away from the southern approach. Two Hawks had used the opportunity to enter the fort, moving with the familiarity of one who once called this place home. Now comes the most dangerous part of his mission. Inside the infirmary, Major Howard Ellis, the fort's surgeon, arranges instruments for the day ahead. At 60, with a full white beard and wire-rimmed spectacles, he looks more professor than military man. 20 years on the frontier have given him a unique perspective on the territory's conflicts. The soft creak of a floorboard alerts him to a presence. He turns, expecting an orderly, and freezes at the sight of Two Hawks standing in the doorway. "Good God," Ellis whispers, recognition dawning. "Two Hawks? They said you'd gone back to the hostiles." "Not hostile," Two Hawks corrects calmly. "Just Apache." Ellis relaxes slightly, years of shared history overriding initial alarm. "You shouldn't be here. Colonel Baker has standing orders to arrest any Apache on sight, especially former scouts. Need medicine," Two Hawks explains, producing Dr. Simmons' note. "For sick child," Ellis reads the paper with professional interest. "Carbolic acid solution for severe infection. Extensive protocol." He looks up sharply. "This child must be in grave condition, dying without medicine. The doctor's humanitarian instincts war with military protocol. I have what's needed, but I can't just give military supplies to—" "White child," Two Hawks interrupts. "Little girl. 3 winters old." Ellis's bushy eyebrows rise. "A white child in Apache care?" Two Hawks briefly explains the situation. The Wilson girls, Blackwood's men, the standoff in Redemption Creek. "Lieutenant Carson is there," he concludes. "He knows? Carson?" Ellis nods thoughtfully. "Good man, level-headed." He makes his decision, moving to a cabinet of gleaming bottles. "I'll prepare the solution and instructions." As the doctor works, Two Hawks notices a document case on the desk, official Army letterhead visible. The heading catches his eye. "Territorial Land Commission Disputed Claims." "What is this?" he asks, pointing. Ellis glances over. "Land Commission representatives arrive next week, reviewing all contested homestead claims. Been much trouble over fraudulent claims recently." Two Hawks picks up the document, scanning the text. "They have power over Blackwood?" "Over everyone," Ellis confirms, measuring liquid into a bottle. "Direct authority from the governor. They'll adjudicate disputed claims, investigate reports of intimidation or fraud." He secures a cork in the medicine bottle. "Even Blackwood can't override them." Two Hawks' expression changes subtly as he studies the document. "When do they come?" "Tuesday next. Colonel Baker hosts them." Ellis hands him the prepared medicine. 3 drops in boiled water applied to wound twice daily. Internal dose as written. 2 Hawks accepts the bottle carefully, securing it in a pouch. Thank you. For an old comrade, Ellis says with a nod. Now you'd better leave before the patrol returns. 2 Hawks hesitates. One more thing. In the officers' quarters across the parade ground, Colonel Frank Baker reviews the night's reports with growing irritation. Apache raiders to the north, but nothing found. Waste of time and manpower. He slams the report down. And where the hell is Lieutenant Carson? 3 days overdue from a simple patrol to Redemption Creek. His adjutant clears his throat nervously. Sir, dispatch rider arrived this morning. Lieutenant Carson is assisting the local sheriff with a murder investigation involving James Blackwood. Blackwood. Baker's bushy mustache twitches with annoyance. Carson has no authority to investigate civilians without my direct order. Yes, sir. But there's more. The adjutant hesitates. It concerns those contested land claims the commission is coming to review. Before Baker can respond, a commotion outside draws their attention. Raised voices, boots on wooden steps, then the door bursts open to reveal a corporal, face flushed with exertion. Sir, something's been taken from the document room. The Land Commission files. What? Baker rises, face darkening. By whom? Unknown, sir. But Sentry Johnson reported seeing... Well, sir, he thought he saw an Indian leaving the fort at dawn. Baker's face turns thunderous. Sound the alarm. I want every available man mounted and ready in 5 minutes. He grabs his pistol belt. And send a rider to Blackwood's ranch. Tell him we may have located his Apache horse thief. Back in Redemption Creek, the standoff continues. Blackwood and his men have taken rooms at the hotel across from Martha's store, maintaining a constant watch. Inside the store, Martha sits with Pia beside Mia's bed. The younger girl's condition has worsened through the night, her breathing shallow and labored. Will 2 Hawks come back? Pia asks, still clutching the cavalry bugle. He promised, didn't he? Martha smooths the child's hair. And from what I know of that man, he keeps his promises. Sheriff Hollister enters quietly. Any change? Martha shakes her head. Fever's still high. Dr. Simmons is making another poultice. But she doesn't finish the sentence. Hollister moves to the window, scanning the street below where Blackwood's men lounge in front of the hotel. Lieutenant Carson's trying to contact Fort Bowie for reinforcements. If we can hold Blackwood off until the army arrives in force, she may not have that long, Martha interrupts softly, nodding toward Mia. In the tense silence that follows, a strange sound drifts through the open window, the rhythmic tinkling of a small bell, coming closer. Pia runs to the window. 2 Hawks? But it's not the Apache they see approaching. Instead, a decrepit wagon appears, drawn by a mule wearing a harness of small bells. Driving it is an elderly Chinese man in a worn western suit and round spectacles. He pulls up directly in front of Martha's store, seemingly oblivious to the watchful cowboys across the street. Who in tarnation is that? Hollister mutters. The old man climbs down stiffly and begins unloading wooden crates labeled Lee's Laundry in faded characters. Old Mr. Lee, Martha explains, comes through town every few months. Does laundry for the hotels. They watch as Lee methodically stacks his crates on Martha's porch, nodding politely to Blackwood's men who pay him little attention. Just another Chinese laundryman, beneath their notice. What none of them can see is the small glass bottle nestled securely at the bottom of one crate, or the Land Commission documents hidden beneath folded linens, or the Apache warrior who slipped away from the wagon a mile outside town, circling to approach from another direction. Martha Wilson pushes through her store's front door, arms crossed against the morning chill. "Mr. Lee," she calls with exaggerated cheerfulness. "Right on time for the monthly laundry." The elderly Chinese man bows slightly. "Miss Martha, always pleasure." His accent is thick, his smile revealing a gold tooth. "Many dirty clothes today." "Oh my, yes," Martha replies, playing along with this charade, though she's never arranged laundry service with him before. "Let me help you with those crates." Across the street, Jeb McCullough nudges his brother. "Chinaman's here for laundry. Think we should check them boxes?" Wade spits tobacco juice into the dust. "For what? Looking for an Apache in a laundry crate?" He laughs at his own joke. Besides, Blackwood said watch the store, not hassle some celestial about his washing. Inside, Martha helps Lee carry the crates to the back room. The moment the door closes, the old man's stooped posture straightens and his demeanor changes completely. "Two Hawks sends medicine," he says, his accent suddenly less pronounced. He efficiently opens a false bottom in one crate, revealing the glass bottle and documents. "For little girl." "And these papers very important. You know Two Hawks?" Martha asks, surprised. "Li Cheng knows many people white men do not see." He taps his temple. "Smart men make useful friends across many territories." Sheriff Hollister examines the bottle. "This is the medicine from Fort Bowie?" "How did you—" "Best you not ask," Lee interrupts with a smile. "Two Hawks say to treat child immediately. He will come tonight. Back way." He points toward the rear of the store. "There are men watching all approaches," Lieutenant Carson warns. Lee's smile widens. "Not all approaches." He pulls a folded paper from his sleeve, a faded map of Redemption Creek. Town built on old mining tunnels. Forgotten now. "Two Hawks will use them?" Hollister studies the map with amazement. "I've been sheriff here 12 years and never knew these existed." "Many things exist unseen," Lee says philosophically. He turns to leave, resuming his stooped posture. "Must go now. Other deliveries." "Thank you," Martha says, pressing coins into his hand. Lee refuses the money. "No payment. Two Hawks saved my son from Apache Pass ambush 3 winters ago. Debt repaid today." Upstairs, Dr. Simmons carefully administers the medicine to Mia, his experienced hands gentle as he cleans her infected wounds with the carbolic solution. "It's remarkable," he murmurs. "This treatment is just beginning to be used in Eastern hospitals. Fort Bowie must have the most up-to-date medical supplies in the territory." Pia watches anxiously from beside the bed. "Will she get better now?" "We hope so," Dr. Simmons says cautiously. "The medicine will help fight the infection, but she's very weak." Martha unfolds the Land Commission documents on a small table. "Look at this. The commission arrives Tuesday to review all contested claims, with authority to nullify fraudulent ones." "That's why Blackwood is so desperate to get rid of the girls," Hollister realizes. "They're witnesses who could testify about the murder of their parents on disputed land, and with Mary Wilson's journal as evidence," Carson adds. "Blackwood would lose everything." Martha concludes. A sharp knock at the store's front door interrupts their planning. Through the window, they see James Blackwood himself standing on the porch, flanked by the McCullough brothers. "Hollister, a word, if you please." Blackwood calls up. The sheriff sighs, checking his revolver before heading downstairs. Carson follows, hand on his sidearm. "Stay with the girls," Hollister tells Martha. "And keep those documents safe." Downstairs, Blackwood waits impatiently, removing his gloves, finger by finger. "Sheriff, my patience is wearing thin. I have a legal writ for custody of those children, which is being contested pending investigation of the Wilson murders," Hollister counters. Blackwood's practiced smile slips. "I've just received word from Colonel Baker at Fort Bowie. It seems your Apache friend was spotted at the fort this morning, stealing military documents." Carson steps forward. "What documents?" "I wouldn't know," Blackwood replies smoothly. "But Baker has dispatched a full troop to apprehend him. Horse theft and document theft are hanging offenses. Sheriff, you seem remarkably well informed about Fort Bowie's activities," Hollister observes. "I have interest throughout the territory," Blackwood says dismissively. "Now I'm offering one last chance for an amicable resolution. Release the children to my custody, and I'll ensure no charges are filed against Mrs. Wilson for harboring a fugitive." "And Two Hawks?" Carson asks. Blackwood's eyes harden. "The Apache is no longer your concern." Upstairs, Pia listens at the floorboards, the cavalry bugle clutched to her chest. She doesn't understand everything being said, but she recognizes the threat in Blackwood's voice. Beside her, Martha studies the tunnel map with growing interest. Her finger traces a passage that appears to connect the store's cellar with the abandoned mine shaft behind the livery stable. "An escape route," she whispers to herself. From the bed comes a sound they've been praying for, Mia's weak voice. "Pia, where's the nice man?" Pia rushes to her sister's side. Mia, you're awake. The younger girl's eyes are clearer, the fever having broken. I had a dream, she says softly. A man with feathers in his hair told me to be strong, that we have a new family now. Martha and Dr. Simmons exchange glances of surprise and relief. The medicine is working faster than I expected, the doctor admits. Perhaps she had help from more than just medicine, Martha suggests, her hand moving to the small silver cross at her neck. Something science couldn't explain, like a child recovering strength just when it was most needed. On the dresser beside Mia's bed sits a curious object none of them noticed before. A small carved wooden bird, its wings spread as if in flight. It wasn't there earlier, and no one recalls seeing Two Hawks leave it, yet somehow it found its way to the sick child's bedside, a silent guardian watching over her recovery. Night falls over Redemption Creek like a heavy blanket, bringing with it a tense quiet. Blackwood's men maintain their vigil, campfires burning in front of the hotel while they pass whiskey bottles and play cards to stay awake. Two guards stand at the rear of Martha's store, rifles cradled in their arms. Inside the cellar beneath the store, Martha holds a lantern high, illuminating rough stone walls and a dirt floor covered with decades of dust. Lieutenant Carson and Sheriff Hollister examine what appears to be a solid wall of stacked crates and barrels. According to Lee's map, the tunnel entrance should be right here, Hollister says, tapping the wall of containers. Carson runs his hand along the edge of a large barrel. These haven't been moved in years. Look at the dust accumulation. My Walter knew about these tunnels, Martha explains. Said the whole town was honeycombed with them from the silver mining days. Most collapsed or were sealed up when the mine played out. Hollister begins carefully shifting crates. If Two Hawks is coming through here, we need to clear a path. Upstairs, Dr. Simmons checks Mia's temperature. The fever's broken completely. It's remarkable. Pia sits cross-legged on the floor nearby, meticulously arranging a circle of small objects around her. The medicine stone, the cavalry bugle, a chicken feather, a button, a smooth river stone. In the center lies the wooden bird that appeared so mysteriously. What are you doing, child? Dr. Simmons asks. Making medicine circle, Pia explains seriously. Like Two Hawks showed me. For protection. The doctor smiles indulgently. I see, and do you think it works? Pia nods with absolute certainty. It helped Mia get better. From her bed, Mia watches with drowsy interest. Though still weak, her eyes are clear, her breathing normal. The carbolic treatment has visibly reduced the angry red infection around her wrist wounds. When is Two Hawks coming back? She asks in her small voice. Soon, Pia promises. He always keeps promises. In the shadows beyond town, Two Hawks moves silently through the scrub brush, having left his borrowed horse hidden in a dry wash. The night belongs to him, its darkness a familiar ally rather than an obstacle. He carries only essentials, his knife, a small water skin, and a canvas sack containing something bulky. He pauses at the edge of town, studying the pattern of guards Blackwood has positioned, more than he expected. A direct approach to the store would be impossible. From his vantage point, Two Hawks can see the abandoned mine entrance, half collapsed on the hillside behind the livery stable. According to Lee's map, it connects to tunnels leading beneath Martha's store. If the old passages remain intact, Two Hawks secures the canvas sack and begins his approach, using every shadow and dip in the terrain for cover. Years of scouting for the army taught him how to move unseen through hostile territory. Tonight, those skills might mean the difference between life and death. Inside the mine entrance, darkness envelops him completely. He pauses, allowing his eyes to adjust, then moves forward carefully, feeling his way along rough-hewn walls slick with mineral seepage. The air is stale, heavy with the scent of earth and decay. A noise ahead stops him, scrabbling, faint but distinct. Rats, probably. But as he advances, the sound changes, becomes rhythmic, deliberate. Someone is digging. Two Hawks freezes, knife in hand, senses straining. Two Hawks? A whispered voice echoes in the darkness. That you, Sheriff? Two Hawks advances cautiously until a faint glow becomes visible around a bend in the tunnel. Hollister and Carson have cleared enough crates to expose a crumbling mortar wall with a small opening at the bottom. Carson's hands are bloody from pulling away stones. "Found you," Hollister says, with evident relief. "We've been at this for hours." Two Hawks kneels to examine their work. "Need to make bigger opening." Together, the three men carefully dismantle more of the wall, creating a passage large enough to crawl through. Two Hawks goes first, pulling the canvas sack behind him, emerging dust-covered into Martha's cellar. "Thank God," Martha whispers, embracing him briefly. "The girls have been asking for you." Two Hawks nods, handing her the sack. "From Fort, official documents about Land Commission. And this." He produces a folded paper sealed with wax and ribbon, an official proclamation bearing the territorial governor's stamp. "What is it?" Carson asks, brushing mortar dust from his uniform. "Governor's proclamation. About peaceful relations with native tribes." Two Hawks' eyes hold a hint of irony. "Zated, Apache citizen." Major Ellis had copy. "Said it might help." Hollister examines the document with growing excitement. "This is the governor's directive on indigenous custody rights. It specifically states that in cases where native guardians have legitimately assumed care of orphan children, their custody should be respected pending territorial review." "How did you get this?" Carson asks, amazed. Two Hawks shrugs. "Asked." Martha laughs softly at the simplicity of his response. "Come, the girls need to see you." Upstairs, Pia is the first to spot Two Hawks as he emerges from the cellar stairs. Her face lights up with pure joy. "You came back," she cries, launching herself at him. Without hesitation, he catches her, lifting her small body easily. "I promised," he reminds her solemnly. Mia sits up in bed, eyes wide. "You're real," she whispers. "I saw you in my dream." Two Hawks approaches her bed, still carrying Pia. "How do you feel, little one?" "Better," Mia says shyly. "The bird told me you were coming." Two Hawks glances at the wooden carving sitting in Pia's medicine circle. His expression reveals nothing, but something flickers in his eyes. Recognition, perhaps, or wonder. From a pouch at his waist, Two Hawks withdraws something that gleams silver in the lamplight. A delicate chain supporting a small, intricately wrought silver feather, a piece of traditional Apache jewelry rarely seen by outsiders. "For protection," he explains, placing it gently around Mia's neck. Silver feather carries prayers to sky spirits. The child touches it reverently. "It's pretty." "It was my daughter's," Two Hawks says quietly. The simple statement falls into silence as everyone absorbs its significance. Outside, a dog barks, breaking the moment. Two Hawks moves to the window, scanning the street below with practiced wariness. Blackwood's men. "More now." He turns back to the others. "Tomorrow they will come for the children." "Let them try," Hollister growls. "With the governor's proclamation and the Land Commission documents." "Papers don't stop bullets," Two Hawks interrupts bluntly. "Need better plan." As if to emphasize his point, a rider gallops into town, pulling up sharply in front of the hotel. Even from a distance, the military uniform is unmistakable. "Army courier," Carson says grimly. "That can't be good." Dawn streaks the sky with bands of orange and purple as Reverend Thomas Parker makes his way to Martha Wilson's store. A Bible tucked under one arm, the 60-year-old minister walks with purpose, despite the early hour. Blackwood's men watch him pass without interference. Even hardened cowboys hesitate to block a man of God. Martha opens the door before he knocks. "Thank you for coming, Reverend." Inside, the unusual alliance has gathered around Martha's kitchen table. Sheriff Hollister, Lieutenant Carson, Two Hawks, Dr. Simmons, and now Reverend Parker. The girls remain upstairs, Pia teaching Mia a finger game Two Hawks showed her. "Quite the assembly," Parker observes, accepting a cup of coffee. His eyes linger on Two Hawks, but without the suspicion most townspeople show. "I've heard rumors about your situation. Thought I should see for myself." Hollister slides the Land Commission documents and Governor's proclamation across the table. Blackwood murdered those girls' parents for their land. Now he's trying to eliminate the witnesses. Parker reviews the papers carefully, his expression grave. This proclamation on indigenous custody rights. It would support Two Hawks' claim, but only temporarily. Temporary is all we need, Carson points out. The Land Commission arrives Tuesday. Once they hear the evidence, assuming Blackwood allows them to hear it, Martha interjects. He's not a man who leaves things to chance. Two Hawks has been silent, watching the minister with careful assessment. Now he speaks. Why do you help us? Parker seems unsurprised by the directness. 20 years ago I was chaplain at Fort Laramie. Saw firsthand how the army and settlers treated your people. He meets Two Hawks' gaze steadily. I've spent 2 decades trying to practice what I preach about loving thy neighbor. Too few Christians remember that commandment when it comes to Indians. Two Hawks nods, accepting this explanation. What about that army courier last night? Hollister asks Carson. Orders from Colonel Baker, Carson confirms grimly. I'm to return to Fort Bowie immediately with the Apache prisoner. He gestures to Two Hawks. Baker's sending a full detachment to ensure compliance. They'll arrive by noon. Perfect timing for Blackwood, Dr. Simmons notes bitterly. The army takes Two Hawks, Blackwood takes the girls. Martha refills coffee cups with steady hands. Then we need to be gone before noon. And go where? Hollister challenges. Blackwood has men watching every trail out of town. Not every trail, Two Hawks counters. He points to the tunnel map. Underground to Creek Bed. Then north to Mescalero Apache territory. You take 2 white children to an Apache reservation. Parker asks, surprised. My cousin is sub-chief there. Children would be safe. Until when? Carson presses. You can't hide them forever. Two Hawks considers this. Until Land Commission comes. Or until Blackwood faces justice. There's another option, Reverend Parker suggests quietly. One that might satisfy both white and Apache law. He withdraws a document from his Bible, a simple form with official territorial seals. What's this? Martha asks. Guardianship papers, Parker explains. As a registered territorial minister, I'm authorized to witness and validate adoption of orphan children in emergency circumstances. Hollister stares at the document. You're suggesting Two Hawks legally adopt the Wilson girls? Precisely, Parker nods. The governor's proclamation supports indigenous custody claims. These papers would formalize that arrangement under territorial law. Has an Apache ever been granted legal guardianship of white children? Dr. Simmons asks incredulously. Not to my knowledge, Parker admits, but there's no specific prohibition against it. The law simply requires a person of good character who can provide for the children's welfare. Two Hawks listens to this discussion with an unreadable expression. Finally, he speaks. Papers matter to white law, but what matters to children is protection, safety. He looks around the table. I will sign. Parker hands him the document and a pen. With careful concentration, Two Hawks signs his name in clear, precise letters, evidence of his years learning to navigate the white man's world. I'll witness, Martha says firmly, adding her signature. Parker completes the form with his own signature and official seal. It's done. According to territorial law, Two Hawks is now the legal guardian of Sophia and Emma Wilson. The gravity of the moment hangs in the air, interrupted by the sound of boots on the front porch. Through the window, they see Deputy Wilkes approaching urgently. Sheriff! Riders coming from the east, army patrol. At least 20 men. They're early, Carson mutters, checking his pocket watch. Baker must have sent them out at first light. Upstairs, Pia appears at the top of the stairs, holding the cavalry bugle. Two Hawks. Men with guns coming? We're out of time, Hollister says, checking his revolver. Martha, get the girls ready to move. As the others spring into action, Two Hawks remains oddly still, his eyes fixed on something outside the window. Not the approaching soldiers, but something on the horizon to the west, a smudge of dust barely visible in the morning light. More riders, he says quietly. From reservation lands, Apache raiders, Carson asks sharply. Two Hawks shakes his head. Not raiders. Through a gap in the curtains, they can just make out riders appearing on the ridge outside town. at least a dozen Apache warriors on paint ponies watching the unfolding scene below. At their center, a familiar figure walks far, your people, Hollister observes. My family, Two Hawks corrects, something like pride in his voice. He reaches into his shirt and withdraws a folded square of buckskin. Opening it carefully, he reveals an intricately beaded bracelet of blue and white trade beads with a single eagle feather secured at its center. My wife made this when our daughter was born, he explains, his voice soft with memory, to mark her as belonging to our family, to our people. Without further explanation, he moves toward the stairs where Pia stands, clutching the bugle, her small face serious with the understanding that something important is happening. Come, little one, Two Hawks calls. Bring sister. Time to go. Outside, the sounds of Redemption Creek awakening to crisis grow louder. Shouts as Blackwood's men spot the Apache warriors on the ridge, the rhythmic hoofbeats of approaching army cavalry. Doors slamming as townspeople hurry to safety. The final confrontation is coming, and there will be no peaceful resolution without sacrifice. Redemption Creek transforms into a stage for confrontation as three forces converge upon its dusty main street. From the east, Colonel Baker leads a column of blue-coated cavalry, rifles gleaming in the morning sun. From the hotel, Blackwood and his men emerge, the McCullough brothers flanking their employer with hands hovering near holstered revolvers. And on the western ridge, the Apache warriors sit motionless on their ponies, a silent but unmistakable presence. In Martha's store, last preparations unfold with urgent efficiency. Two Hawks fastens the beaded bracelet around Mia's tiny wrist, while Pia watches solemnly. Now you are family, he tells them in Apache, then repeats in English. My daughters in all ways that matter. Mia touches the eagle feather with wonder, while Pia's chin lifts with newfound belonging. Sheriff Hollister peers through the curtains. Baker's men are forming a perimeter. Blackwood's heading this way with the McCulloughs. And here I thought we'd have a quiet Sunday morning, Martha mutters. Loading shells into her shotgun, Lieutenant Carson adjusts his uniform, preparing to face his commanding officer. Remember the plan. I'll try to stall Baker with the legal papers while you get the girls out through the tunnels. They've sealed the back exit, Deputy Wilkes reports, rushing in from his surveillance position. 4 of Blackwood's men with rifles covering the rear door. The tunnel entrance behind the livery? Hollister asks. Wilkes shakes his head. Guarded too. They've boxed us in completely, Dr. Simmons concludes grimly. Two Hawks remains calm, listening to their reports while securing small pouches of provisions to his belt. No more running, he decides. We face them here. With truth. Our authoritative knock rattles the front door. Colonel Baker's voice carries clearly. Lieutenant Carson, by order of the United States Army, present yourself immediately. Carson squares his shoulders and moves toward the door. But Two Hawks stops him with a raised hand. Wait. From a concealed sheath at the small of his back, Two Hawks withdraws something unexpected, a bone-handled knife with a blade of dark volcanic glass. An obsidian knife of ancient design, its edge honed to razor sharpness. My father's knife, he explains. For ceremonies, for sacred truths. He presses it into Carson's hand. Show this to Baker. Tell him Two Hawks invokes right of parley under Treaty of Fort Laramie. Carson examines the ceremonial blade with surprise. What does this mean? It means I claim right to speak before tribal council and army leaders together. Old treaty promise. Baker knows this law. Will he honor it? Hollister asks skeptically. He is soldier. Follows rules, Two Hawks replies. Even rules he does not like. Carson nods and tucks the knife carefully into his belt. Drawing a deep breath, he opens the door and steps onto the porch. Outside, tension thickens the air as Colonel Baker sits astride his horse at the head of 20 mounted soldiers. Nearby, Blackwood and his men form a second intimidating group. Townspeople watch from doorways and windows. Knowing they're witnessing a pivotal moment in Redemption Creek's history, Lieutenant Carson, Baker barks, you are hereby ordered to surrender the Apache prisoner and the Wilson children into military custody. Carson salutes crisply. Sir, I respectfully present new information. He produces the governor's proclamation and guardianship papers. Two Hawks has been legally appointed guardian of the Wilson orphans under territorial law, confirmed by Reverend Parker and witnessed according to statute. Baker scowls, examining the documents. These papers are irrelevant. I have orders to— Colonel, Carson interrupts, risking insubordination. Two Hawks has invoked right of parley under the Fort Laramie Treaty. He reveals the obsidian knife. Baker's expression changes, recognition followed by reluctant respect. Where did he get that ceremonial blade? It belongs to his family, sir, passed down through generations. Enough of this nonsense, Blackwood interrupts, stepping forward. Colonel, I have a valid court order for custody of those children. This Apache stole them and— Be silent, Mr. Blackwood, Baker commands with unexpected sharpness. The right of parley is recognized by the United States government in all treaty territories. He dismounts, handing his reins to an aide. I will hear what the Apache has to say. This is outrageous. Blackwood sputters. I've contributed generously to the fort's operational fund, and this is how— Are you attempting to influence a military officer, Mr. Blackwood? Baker's voice cuts like a whip. Inside, Two Hawks prepares to step outside, kneeling first to address the girls. Stay with Martha, he instructs. No matter what happens. I'm scared, Mia whispers. Two Hawks touches the silver feather at her neck. Courage does not mean no fear. It means acting despite fear, Pia clutches his arm. What if the bad men take you away? In answer, Two Hawks removes something from around his neck. The cross Lieutenant Colonel Harrison had given him years ago, the one with the bullet hole. He places it in Pia's palm, closing her fingers around it. Harrison's cross protected me many times, he tells her. Now it protects you. Rising to his full height, Two Hawks adjusts his buckskin shirt and steps onto the porch to face the assembled forces. Sheriff Hollister and Reverend Parker flank him, a symbolic statement of unity across cultural divides. Baker studies Two Hawks with grudging respect. You've caused quite a stir, Scout. Fort Bowie has standing orders to apprehend any Apache off reservation lands. I am not just any Apache, Two Hawks responds evenly. I am legal guardian to Sophia and Emma Wilson, whose parents were murdered by James Blackwood's men for their land. The public accusation sends a shockwave through the gathered crowd. Blackwood's face darkens with fury. That's a damnable lie, he shouts. Colonel, I demand you arrest this savage for slander. Let him speak, Baker commands, honoring the parley tradition despite his own prejudices. Two Hawks doesn't waste the opportunity. With measured words, he recounts finding the traumatized girls, the evidence at the Wilson homestead, Mary's journal entries, and the witnesses to the McCullough brothers' incriminating statements. As he speaks, Martha appears in the doorway with the girls. Mia, still weak but determined, stands beside her sister. Both wear the gifts Two Hawks gave them, Mia's silver feather necklace and the beaded bracelet. Pia with Harrison's cross and the medicine stone. These children have suffered enough, Two Hawks concludes. The Land Commission arrives Tuesday to review all contested claims. Let them hear the evidence and decide according to law, both your law and mine. A tense silence follows his words. In that moment of suspended time, Jeb McCullough makes a fatal miscalculation. His hand drops to his holster. Enough of this Indian talk, he snarls. Drawing his revolver, multiple actions happen simultaneously. Hollister shouts a warning. Baker reaches for his sidearm, and Two Hawks lunges to shield the girls as a shot cracks through the morning air. The gunshot echoes off storefronts as Two Hawks tackles the girls to the porch floor, covering them with his body. But the bullet wasn't aimed at them. Sheriff Hollister stands with his smoking revolver pointed at Jeb McCullough, whose gun clatters to the dirt as he clutches his bleeding hand. Next one goes between your eyes, Hollister warns. Not lowering his weapon, Colonel Baker signals his troops to hold position while chaos erupts around them. Wade McCullough reaches for his own gun, but freezes when multiple cavalry rifles swing in his direction. Stand down, Baker commands. The next man who draws without my order will be shot. On the ridge, the Apache warriors have knocked arrows, their bows half drawn in warning. The town holds its collective breath, teetering on the edge of bloodshed. Two Hawks rises slowly, helping the frightened girls to their feet. Pia clings to his leg, while Mia buries her face against Martha's skirts. "This is what you defend, Colonel," Two Hawks says quietly, gesturing to the trembling children. "Not land, not gold, not pride. Just two small girls who have lost everything." Baker's weathered face reveals the conflict within him, duty versus conscience, orders versus justice. He turns to Lieutenant Carson. "Your assessment of this situation, Lieutenant?" Carson stands at attention. "Sir, based on evidence I've personally verified, James Blackwood orchestrated the murder of George and Mary Wilson to acquire their land fraudulently. The McCullough brothers carried out these murders and subsequently abducted the Wilson children to eliminate witnesses." "Lies," Blackwood snarls. "All of it." "Furthermore," Carson continues steadily, Two Hawks legally adopted the orphaned girls according to territorial statute, with proper witnesses, including Reverend Parker, a recognized territorial authority. Baker absorbs this, then turns to Blackwood. "These are serious accusations, Mr. Blackwood." "Preposterous accusations," Blackwood counters, maintaining his composure despite the situation unraveling around him. From his coat pocket, he withdraws a folded document. "I have here a deed transfer signed by George Wilson 3 weeks ago, selling his property to me for a fair price." Reverend Parker steps forward. "May I see that document, Colonel?" Baker takes the deed and passes it to Parker, who examines it carefully. "This signature is not George Wilson's," Parker declares. "I witnessed his signature on numerous church documents." "This is a forgery." "Of course you'd say that," Blackwood scoffs. "You're clearly in league with—" "I can prove it," Parker interrupts, reaching into his coat. He produces a worn leather volume. "The church registry. Every family in the parish has signed it, including George and Mary Wilson when they joined 3 years ago." Baker compares the signatures, his frown deepening. "Mr. Blackwood, this appears to be a fraudulent document." For the first time, uncertainty flickers across Blackwood's face. "Colonel, surely you're not taking the word of an Apache and his sympathizers over a respected businessman." "I'm considering evidence, Mr. Blackwood." Baker replies coldly. "Something you should be concerned about." Wade McCullough, seeing their position deteriorating, makes a desperate gamble. "Blackwood paid us to scare off settlers, not kill anyone. It was his idea to take the girls to Hamilton's camp." "Shut your mouth, you fool!" Blackwood hisses, but the damage is done. Baker's expression hardens as he hears the implicit confession. "Lieutenant Carson, place Mr. Blackwood and the McCullough brothers under military arrest pending investigation of murder, kidnapping, and land fraud." "This is outrageous." Blackwood blusters as soldiers move to surround him. "I'll have your commission for this, Baker." "You're welcome to appeal to the governor," Baker replies evenly. "I believe he's sending representatives on Tuesday." As soldiers disarm Blackwood and his men, Baker turns to Two Hawks. "As for you and these children, the parley has been honored. The evidence will be presented to the Land Commission." He hesitates, decades of prejudice warring with his sense of justice. "Until then, the children remain in your custody as their legal guardian." A ripple of amazement passes through the onlookers. Never in the territory's history has an Apache been officially recognized as guardian to white children. Two Hawks nods once, acknowledging both the justice and the extraordinary nature of the decision. "Thank you, Colonel." The tension begins to dissipate as soldiers lead the prisoners away. On the ridge, Waxfar raises his hand in salute to Two Hawks before leading his warriors back toward Apache lands. Their presence having served its purpose without a single arrow fired. Martha Wilson sighs with relief, but her celebration is cut short by a sudden movement. Wade McCullough, being led past her porch, lunges unexpectedly. His handcuffed hands grab Mia, yanking her away from Martha's protection. "Back off!" he shouts, using the child as a human shield. Nobody follows or the girl dies. Mia screams in terror as Wade drags her down the steps, backing toward an alley between buildings. Soldiers raise their rifles but can't risk hitting the child. Hold your fire! Baker orders. Two Hawks stands absolutely still, his eyes locked on Wade's. Let her go. Your fight is not with children. My fight's with whoever put me in chains. Wade snarls, continuing his retreat. I'm not hanging for Blackwood's scheme. Pia suddenly breaks free from Martha's grasp, running forward with unexpected speed. Let my sister go, bad man. Pia, no! Hollister shouts, lunging to catch her. Too late. The child races toward her sister, determination overriding fear. Wade McCullough's attention splits for a crucial second. In that moment, Two Hawks moves, not toward Wade, but to the side, snatching something from the porch railing, his father's bow left there when he first emerged to parley. In one fluid motion born from a lifetime of hunting, he knocks an arrow, draws, and releases. The arrow whistles through morning air, striking with devastating precision. Not into Wade's body, but into the chain between his handcuffs, pinning them to the wooden wall behind him. The impact jerks him backward, breaking his grip on Mia. Two Hawks is already moving, covering the distance in 3 bounding strides. His fist connects with Wade's jaw with such force that the man crumples instantly. He turns to find Mia and Pia clutched together in the dirt, both sobbing. Kneeling beside them, he gathers the girls into his arms, his normally stoic expression cracking with emotion. Safe now, he murmurs, rocking them gently. You are safe. Around them, the town of Redemption Creek bears witness to this tableau. An Apache warrior cradling 2 white children with tender protectiveness that transcends blood. Recent history. Colonel Baker removes his hat, a gesture of respect rarely offered to any Indian. Lieutenant Carson, see that the prisoners are secured. We'll escort them personally to Fort Bowie to await the Land Commission's arrival. And the children, sir? Carson asks, though he already knows the answer. Baker looks at Two Hawks and the girls, something in his rigid military bearing softening. They're exactly where they belong. 3 weeks later, golden afternoon sunlight bathes the Wilson homestead as Two Hawks secures the final board on the newly rebuilt porch. The cabin stands restored, roof mended, windows reglazed, furniture repaired or replaced. What once was a scene of violence has been reclaimed and renewed. Pia and Mia play in the dooryard, their thin faces filling out after weeks of proper food and care. They chase butterflies through tall grass, their laughter a sound once unimaginable in this place of tragedy. Martha Wilson rocks gently in a chair at the edge of the porch, knitting needles clicking rhythmically. She looks up as Sheriff Hollister rides into view, followed by Lieutenant Carson and a well-dressed gentleman none of them recognize. Two Hawks, Martha calls. Company coming. The girls immediately run to Two Hawks, positioning themselves on either side of him, a habit formed from weeks of uncertainty. Though the danger has passed, Hollister dismounts, removing his hat. Afternoon, folks. Brought visitors from the territorial capital. Lieutenant Carson, now wearing captain's bars, helps the distinguished gentleman from his horse. Two Hawks. This is Judge William Hargrove of the Land Commission, Hollister introduces. He's brought news. Judge Hargrove, a silver-haired man with intelligent eyes, approaches with a leather portfolio tucked under one arm. Mr. Two Hawks, he begins, then pauses, taking in the restored homestead and the 2 small girls half hidden behind their guardian. I see you've been busy. Land needs tending, Two Hawks replies simply. Children need home, Hargrove nods thoughtfully. Indeed they do. The Commission has completed its investigation into the Wilson murders and James Blackwood's land fraud schemes. He opens his portfolio, removing official documents. Blackwood and the McCullough brothers have been charged with multiple counts of murder, fraud, and intimidation. They'll face trial next month. Good, Martha says firmly. Justice has been a long time coming. Furthermore, Hargrove continues, all fraudulently acquired properties have been returned to their rightful owners or heirs. He extracts a specific document bearing the territorial seal. This deed confirms Sophia and Emma Wilson as the legal owners of this homestead and all 160 acres, to be held in trust until they reach majority. Two Hawks accepts the document, studying it carefully before passing it to Martha for safekeeping. There's one more matter, Hargrove adds, his tone more personal. The guardianship arrangement. He glances at the girls, who watch him warily. It's unprecedented, an Apache man adopting white orphans. Two Hawks straightens, his expression guarded. Papers are legal. Reverend Parker witnessed. Yes, the papers are in order, Hargrove confirms. But there have been concerns raised. Questions about the children's cultural upbringing, education, religious instruction. I teach them Apache ways, Two Hawks acknowledges. Also reading, writing. Martha teaches Christian prayers. Lieutenant, Captain Carson brings books from Fort Library. It takes a village, Martha interjects, rising from her chair. These children are learning the best of both worlds. Hargrove seems surprised by this arrangement. I see. And the children themselves? Are they content with this situation? Pia steps forward, her small face serious. Two Hawks is our father now. He saved us from the bad men. He fixed our house. Her voice carries the simple clarity of childhood truth. He loves us. Mia nods emphatically from her position, half hidden behind Two Hawks' leg. Something in Hargrove's official demeanor softens. He reaches into his portfolio one last time and withdraws a final document, larger, more ornate, with multiple ribbons and seals. The territorial governor has reviewed this case personally, he explains. Given its unique circumstances, he's issued this special decree confirming and making permanent the guardianship of Sophia and Emma Wilson by, he consults the document, Two Hawks, also known as Thomas Hawkins in his Army Scout records. Two Hawks' eyes widen slightly at the use of his long-abandoned Scout name. The decree specifically notes your exemplary service record, Hargrove continues, and the testimony of Colonel Baker regarding your character and actions in protecting these children at great personal risk. He hands the document to Two Hawks, who accepts it with reverent hands. This makes it official in every jurisdiction in the territory. No one can challenge your guardianship again. Thank you, Two Hawks says simply, though the depth of feeling behind those two words is evident to all. Captain Carson steps forward, carrying something wrapped in oilcloth. The men at the fort sent this, a housewarming gift of sorts. Two Hawks unwraps the bundle to reveal a hand-carved sign reading Wilson Hawkins Homestead in careful lettering. Thought it appropriate, Carson explains, honoring both families now joined together. As the men secure the sign above the newly rebuilt door, Martha calls the girls to help bring refreshments. In the quiet moment that follows, Two Hawks reaches into his shirt and withdraws a small object that catches the sunlight. A silver locket on a delicate chain. Found this in town, he tells Hollister quietly. For holding memories, inside the locket, he's placed tiny photographs. One of George and Mary Wilson, cut from a portrait Martha had saved. The other of Two Hawks himself, taken reluctantly at Captain Carson's insistence. So they remember all parents, Two Hawks explains. Those lost and those found. Hollister nods, understanding the profound meaning behind this simple gift. You've created something remarkable here. Two Hawks, something that might change how people think about what makes a family. Two Hawks watches as Pia and Mia return carrying a tray of lemonade. Their steps careful, but their faces bright with purpose. Not just me, he corrects. The girls, they teach me as much as I teach them. As afternoon lengthens into evening, the unlikely family and their visitors gather on the new porch. Pia climbs comfortably into Two Hawks' lap while Mia leans against his side. Both children entirely at ease with the man who once seemed so foreign and frightening. Tell us an Apache story. Pia requests, settling against his chest. Two Hawks smiles, a rare, unguarded expression that transforms his solemn features. Long ago, when the world was new, he begins in the traditional way. The Great Spirit looked upon the people and saw they were divided. His voice carries into the twilight, weaving together threads of two cultures now joined in this remote corner of the Arizona Territory. A new story being written with each passing day.